Hi, in today's video we're going to take a look at creating a contact strip of thumbnails with timestamps from a video using ffmpeg. This is Big Buck Bunny, and you can see here this has created thumbnails throughout the video with timestamps that correspond to the position of the thumbnail. So what we're going to do is switch across to the terminal and show you the options. If I run tile thumbnails -H, this is going to print out the help for the script and show you all the options that you can use. So I'll go through the options and then show you the script in action. So first of all, we have the -I option, which is for the input, the video you want to process. Next we have -S, which is the start position where it's going to start creating the thumbnails. What I've done is a lot of these options have a default that you can override, and as you can see here, the default for the -S option is 5 seconds into the video. And the reason for that is because, as you can see in this video, the first frame is black. So we also have the thumbnail width, so the default is 160. You can set it to something like 320. And then we have the tile, which is the how many thumbnails there are, and the width and the height, as it were. So you can see here we've got a 6x6 layout here. Then we have the padding between the images, the margin, the color of the padding and the margin, as you can see here, is black. We've got a black separator between all the thumbnails. Then we have the font color, the box color, and what these correspond to are this here. This corresponds to the timestamp. So the default for the box is black, and the default for the text is white. And then what we have down here is X on. And what this does is this sets the timestamps to be displayed. So you can create a contact strip with or without the timestamps. And then finally we have the -O option for the output. And as you can see here, a lot of these have default options that you can actually override. So let's go through and actually do some videos. So as you can see, I've already done Big Buck Bunny. What I'm going to do is do Big Buck Bunny again and set the default, use the default start position, which is 5 seconds in. I'm going to run tile thumbnails -I Big Buck Bunny, and what I'm going to do is use the -W option to set the width of the thumbnails to 320. I'm going to set the tiling to be 6x6. And finally, what I'm going to do is I'll show you without the timestamp, and then I'll put the timestamp on. So I'm just going to run that, and as you can see, I haven't actually specified an out file name. And the way this script works is, what it will do is, if you don't provide an output file name, it will use the input file name and then append -tile and then the date and time and the file extension to the image that's created. The reason for this is because this allows you to batch process videos. So let's just switch back across here, and you can see this is the contact strip without any timestamps here. So if I rerun that command and use the -X on option, it will actually add the timestamps to the video. And the important thing that I'll show you is it will also, the timestamps will automatically correspond to the start time. As you can see, what I was mentioning before is the first frame in the video was black, which is why I set a default start position of 5 seconds so that we don't get a black first frame. And as you can see here, the timestamp corresponds to that start time as well, because you don't want to set a start time of 5 seconds and then have the timestamp say 0, because obviously that would be incorrect. So as you can see here, we've got the contact strip with all the thumbnails from the video. So the way this works is, suppose this is a 9-minute, roughly 10-minute video, and the file options will basically divide the video up. So if you only had a 10-minute video and you set 2 thumbnails to be displayed, it would basically divide 10 minutes by 2, if that makes sense. So it's creating all these thumbnails at an interval that's, it's dividing the time by how many thumbnails you've got. So as you can see here, the difference between the first one, where the first frame is black, we don't really want that. So that's why we set a default of 5 seconds, so we don't get a black frame. Okay, so let's go through some of these options and actually do some other videos. What we've got down here is Elephant's Dream and Goal of the Season from Newcastle. So what I'll do is file thumbnails in Elephant's Dream, and we'll leave it at the default of 160 and 4x4 without any I'll put the timestamp on. So we're just setting the timestamp on here, and this is going to use the default options in the script for the width of the thumbnails and the tiling. So we just need to leave it for a second or two because it's a 10-minute video and it's got to go through. Okay, so there we go. So now what we have is Elephant's Dream, and as you can see here, this is a 4x3 layout with the thumbnail set to 160. So that's the default. So let's override the default, and the order of the options doesn't actually matter. You can use the options in any order you like. So I put width 320, tile 6x6, and we'll give it an out file name. So I would just call it ed short.png. And then what I'll do is I'll show you how you can change the box color and the font color for the timestamps. So again, just leave this chunder away for a second. Obviously, the longer the video is, the longer it's actually going to take to process. Okay, we've got ed.png down here. And what you can see here is we've got a 6x6 layout with the thumbnail set to 320 and the default color scheme for the timestamps. So let's change the timestamp color. So suppose we want a yellow color for the font. So if you run the script again with the -H option, it will print out all the options. So the colors that you can use are actually specified here. You can see this is the link to the color syntax. So you've got, like black, white, that sort of thing. And I'll bring up that page in a second. So what I'm going to do is just rerun this, and I'm going to change the options. Now, if you just want to use the default options for the timestamps, just use X and on, and that will use the default. If you want to change the font color, you don't need to, or the box color, you don't need to specify the -X on option, because if you're specifying the font color and the box color for the timestamps, you obviously want to use them, so you don't need to specify that you want to turn it on. So what we'll do is width 320, tile 6x6, and we'll set the font to yellow, and yeah, that will do it. And just press return for a few seconds. Yeah, come on. I'll just have some tea while this is going. Okay, there, it's done. So let's have a look. Okay, so you can now see we've changed the font color of the timestamp to be yellow. So suppose you want to have a white box with that as well. No problem. Just rerun that. Set the B option box color to be white. Give it a few seconds to run through, and obviously the longer the video is, the longer it's going to take to do. Okay, next one down. Okay, so you can see that isn't a great combination, the yellow and the white. You can see the contrast is out and you can't actually see the actual text, but I just wanted to show you how you set the option. So that one's no good, so let's set that to be red and white, or some red on white. See if that's any better. So it doesn't take too long to actually go through and process. As I said, this is a 10-minute video roughly, and we'll come down here, elephant stream, and you can see we've got red font color for the timestamps against a white background. And again, you can see that I'm using the default start point of 5 seconds because I think this video probably actually starts. Yeah, you can see that the first frame of the video is actually black. Okay, so there's no point in actually having a black thumbnail as the first frame. So let me just go through and get rid of some of these now. Okay, so what we'll do is the goal of the season from Newcastle. So, oops, file thumbnails -H. Have a look at all the options. -I, and we'll actually set this. We'll set the start point to 0 on this one, so you can see how you do that. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So it's in hours, minutes, seconds. And what we want to do is we want the width 320 and the tiling 6x6. So the width of the image is going to depend on two things. It's going to depend on the thumbnail size that you have set, and also the number of tiles. So if you've got 320 set for the thumbnail size, and then you have the tiling set by 6x6, the width of the video, the image created is going to be 320 times by 6, obviously. So we've got the start time, the width, and we want to put the -X on option, and just press return, and now it's going to go through the video and create the context strip. And again, all these options have defaults that you can override, and the advantage of this is that means less typing. You can just use the default options if that's fine, but if not, you can just override them. And also you can specify an output file name, but if you don't, as you can see, it will create a file name based on the input file name, and then dash tile, and then the date and the time. And the reason for that is because it's a twofold. One, so that you can batch process stuff using find. So if you've got a load of videos and you want to create contact strips from them, you can run the find command, find all MP4s, run the tile thumbnail script, and it will go through all the videos and automatically create a contact strip for each one of them without you having to specify the file name. And the other reason is this is part of a set of ffmpeg scripts that are created, and the output file name contains the kind of like the action or the script that has been used, and then the date and time. So the reason for that is if you're processing lots of videos, you'll actually be able to tell, okay, this has been run by the tile thumbnail script, and it will have a unique date and time, which means that if you run the script again, it's not going to overwrite the previous version of the image that you've created, because it's got a unique file name. Okay. Okay, here, goal of the season. And as you can see, actually, again, this one has a black first frame as well. I'll redo that just to show you, just using the defaults, we'll actually set it into 5 seconds. But a lot of videos will actually fade up from black. So that's why I set the default seek position to 5 seconds to avoid that issue. So let's just run that again without the start time in here. And then what I'll do is actually go through the script and show you the code and how it all works. Give it a few seconds. So all these are about 10-minute videos. So this will give you an indication of how long it actually takes to process something. Also, the other thing to note is sometimes what I have found is, depending on how the video is encoded, the contact strip may not be created because of the codecs and stuff like that, and that's just like an ffmpeg codec issue. Okay, so here's the one we created before with the black first frame, and here's the one with the default start position of 5 seconds. And what you will notice is that the timestamp corresponds to the start time, which is absolutely vital, because as I said, you don't want to, otherwise everything would be out. Yeah, so if this was set to, if we'd seek into the video 5 seconds, we want the timestamp to be 5 seconds, not 0. So you can see here, this is showing an overview of the video and all the actual timestamps in it. Okay, so I think you get the general gist of how this works. So again, let's have a look at all the options. So we've got the input, the seek, the width, the thumbnail width, the tiling, the padding between the images, the margins, the color of the margins, the color of the font color of the timestamp, the box color of the timestamp, and if you want the timestamps on and using the default options, just use X on. If you don't specify the font color, the box color, or the -X option, it will create the contact strip, the contact sheet rather, without the timestamps on it, because you might want the timestamps on some videos and not on others. So what I'll do now is actually come through and go through the code. So this is the tile thumbnail script, create an image with thumbnails from a video. These are the dependencies for the script, which are ffmpeg, ffprobe, awk, and bc. Bc is a command line calculator, and we use that to actually do some maths and actually calculate the position of the thumbnails and the timestamps and all that kind of stuff. So first of all, what we have here is the usage, and this is what gets printed out when you run the script with the -H option, or if you just run the script without any options at all, it will print out the help there, basically. So you can see here what we're doing is we run echo, and what a lot of people do is they make the mistake of using the echo command multiple times to print out each line. So what a lot of people do is they make a basic error of thinking you've got to echo out each line. You don't. You do echo double quotes and then a slash here and end it with the, you can see here the end of the double quotes. What that will do is that will echo out this whole section of text without calling echo multiple times, because otherwise you'd be running echo like a dozen times or something. You don't need to do that. So what you'll see here first of all is this little bit here, base name. This is a subshell. So this is base name, double quotes, $0, and what that does is that actually corresponds to the script's name. Okay, so what that does is that actually prints out tile thumbnails, which is the name of the script. Okay, then what we've got here is some error messages. So if you provide, you pass in a wrong option or a wrong number of arguments, that sort of thing, it's actually going to print out a error message telling you what you've done wrong. Now, what we've got down here is another section, check the number of arguments passed to the script. So if you don't pass any options to the script, it's actually going to say wrong number of arguments. So if you basically make a mistake, it's actually going to tell you what you've done wrong. So what we've got down here is getOps. And what getOps is it's a way of specifying a option on the command line and an argument to that option. As you can see, what we've got here is a list of options here. These all these corresponds to these sections down here, and those correspond to the options that you pass to script that you can see in the help menu. So the way this works is, you can see here we've got I, and then what we have is infile equals optarg. And what that means is when you press, when you run the script with the -I option and you give it a file, the optarg is what you've passed after the -I option, and the infile variable will be set to the file name that you've passed to it. Yeah, makes sense. So -I video, bigbuckbunny.mp4 in file will be equal to the optarg, which is bigbuckbunny. Same thing for all these -s. So seek is going to be equal to whatever you passed with -s, scale, tile, and so on. So next, what we've got down here is the actual variables. And the first section, what we've got down here is input no path and input file name. And what this is this is how we actually get the file name of the video that we've passed without the full path. So you don't want the file name to be called home, username, desktop, bigbuckbunny.mp4 or .png, do you? You just want it to have the actual file name without the path. So next step down here is we have a variable called video stats, and what that is that's equal to the frame rate and the duration. And what we're doing is we're actually using ffmpeg to go through the video and actually get the duration of the video. And then what we do, as you can see here, we've got the video stats, and then we've got the FPS. So the that's equal to the video stats, and then we pull out the frame rate from the video statistics. And this is used again to calculate the timestamps. Okay, then we've got the duration. We're pulling out the frame rate and the duration from the video statistics here using awk. And then what we're doing is we're running a couple of checks. So we're actually checking if you've actually set the tile option. So this will actually check if you run the -t option and you've passed something into it. If not, it will just use the default. And then what we've got down here is a series of default options that you can override, like the seek default is 5 seconds, the thumbnails set to 160, the tile to 4:3, the padding, the margin, the color, the color of the margin set to black, the font color, so that's a timestamp font color, set to white, the box color, and what we've also have to do here is set the PTS, so that's like the position of the timestamp. So what we want to make sure is that the timestamp corresponds to the value of the seek, not as in the religion, but the seek position that you specified on the command line. So if you set it to seek into the video at 30 seconds, the timestamp is going to correspond to 30 seconds. Okay, then we've got the output default file name. Again, you can see here, this is the input file name -tile, and then the date and the time with the PNG extension. And then finally, what we've got down here is the duration times the frame rate divided by the number of tiles. You can see here, we're echoing the duration times the frame rate divided by the tile sum, or the tile default. So the tile default is, was it 4:3? So this is a sort of fallback. So if the tile sum isn't set, it falls back to the tile default, and then we pipe that into BC, which is the calculator, to actually do all the maths for us. Then what we've got down here is we've got two functions. First one is the contacts sheet with no timestamps. So what we've got up here is the start of the function name, tile video. And what we're doing is we're running ffmpeg, and what we do is we run hide banner stats vpanic. And what that does is that suppresses the message that typically comes up with ffmpeg. So if I'll show you what I mean. If I run ffmpeg-I big buck bunny, what you'll see is it's actually printed out this massive bunch of text saying, you know, built with, you know, ffmpeg version and all that stuff before we actually get to the metadata. If I was to run hide banner hide banner, that's -I, big buck bunny. Yeah, I missed something out there. I should have just used the hide banner option. Hang on. Just to show you the difference. Okay, there you can see the difference when I use the hide banner option instead of printing out this big chunk of text here in the terminal. With how ffmpeg was built, is actually just going to spit out the details for the video. So then what we have is the -SS option, and what this is this is the seek. So as you can see here, this is funny bit of code here. What this is this is setting a variable. You know, you can normally you'll set a variable like variable like this in a script. The proper way to actually set your variables, let me just increase this, is actually like this. And the reason that I always use this format is because this allows you to change the variable. So you can do stuff like echo var .png. Okay, if you don't have these curly braces, it's going to look for a variable called var.png, which doesn't exist. So that's what this does. This is how we set a variable seek, and if that variable isn't set, what it's going to do is it's going to fall back to this seek default, which is 5 seconds in. So this is how you can set a variable with a fallback option if the variable isn't set. Next, what we have is the -I option and then the in file. And as you can see, we've got seek, in file, and what these correspond to is these sections up here in the get op. So you can see here, in file, seek, scale. Okay. Let me scroll back down here, the actual bit of code. So we've got the in file. Then what we're doing is we run frames, video filter, select not mod. You can see here frames. So you can see everything that's in purple is the variable names. What I'm doing here is this is actually a shell script, but you'll see down here it's actually saying bash. The reason for that is because I'm actually using tree sitter in Emacs, which provides this syntax highlighting, but there isn't a tree sitter package for shell scripts. So that's why I'm using that's why it says bash down here, even though if you look at the top of the script, is actually the shebang is a shell script. So this is a POSIX shell script. This script will work on Linux, Unix, Mac, and Windows. And you can run these scripts on Windows in either two ways, which I've actually done videos. You can either use the Windows subsystem for Linux, or you can actually use cygwin to run these scripts. So this will run on pretty much anything. I said Mac, Linux, Unix, and Windows without any issue. So we've got the frame, again we've got the scale here, and you can see we're doing the scale with the fallback option, tile with the fallback option, the padding, the margin, the color, etc. So you can see these have all got options that if they're not set, they'll fall back to the default option. So that's the contacts sheet without any timestamps, and this is the function for creating the contact strip with timestamps. And the difference is, you can see here what we're doing is we're using draw text equals PTS divided by HMS, which is hours, minutes, seconds. And then what you'll see is this section here, the slash, colon, and then PTS default. And what this does is this is setting the offset. So what this does is this sets the offset for the timestamps so that they correspond to the seek position that you've set. And then we've got some other stuff where it actually sets the width of the box, and then what we have here is the font color, falling back to the font color default if it's not set. We've got the font size, the box color, and then the rest of the script, which is like the function above. And then finally what we've got down here is how we check the options passed to the script. So what we're actually doing here is we're checking which options have been passed to the script and then running the appropriate function. So first of all, what we're doing is we're saying if timestamp equals on, then we want to run the timestamp function with the in file. So that's when, if you specify -x on, it's going to run the timestamp function with the in file and create the timestamps with the default values of white text on a black background. Then what we do is we check if the font color is being used, and if the font color is set with the -f option, we run the timestamp script function. If the box color is set, we run the timestamp function. But if the timestamp function is empty and not set, that means that you haven't specified -x or -f or -b. You haven't set any of these options. So what it's going to do is it's going to create the contact strip without the timestamps on them. So that's basically the gist of everything. And let's just come back here again. So here again, we've got the goal of the season. So this was the Newcastle goal of the season, and as you can see here, this is where I had overridden the default value for the seek position, which is 5 seconds, and I'd set it to 0 using the -s option by running -s 00:00:00, and you can see here that the timestamp corresponds to that value. And as I said, what I do is I actually set the default to be 5 seconds so that we don't get a black frame, because so many videos start with a fade from black, or you know, it might be that a lot of videos have an intro section, yeah, you know, like a little an intro before the video starts, and you don't actually want to capture the intro video before the actual action. You actually want to cut straight to the actual action in the video, because if you were creating a lot of if you were processing a lot of videos, you know, you wouldn't want the intro video be the first frame for all of them, because it just, you know, just be annoying. So what are some of the uses for this? So this is a couple of uses that spring to mind is, you know, this gives you an overview of the video to the user. So if you were, you know, creating a video and you wanted to actually show an overview of what's actually in the video, and you know, where the action is in the video, this would actually kind of give you an overview of what's going on, and you know, at what point in the video that particular action happens. Tea's getting cold. So you can see here, this is a list of the goals of the season from Newcastle, which is my team. Just finished 4th into the Champions League. And what you'll see here is these are sort of goals from various players. So you can see here we've got Fabian Schär, Kieran Trippier, Sir Maximin, Miguel Almiron, Jacob Murphy, Callum Wilson, Alexander Isak. So what this allows you to do is go, oh yeah, I want to see, you know, Fabian Scher's goal. Okay, that's at 20 seconds in here. And what you'll see with the timestamps is we have hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. And that is the value provided by the HMS function. So HMS is the hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. And this allows you to have timestamps that are bang on. Yeah, so it'll be bang on to the millisecond. So let's just have a quick recap of how you do this again. So what you do, tile thumbnails, -H, print out the help message. This gives you all the options. So you can see here, we got the input, we got to all these options up here correspond to the values down here in more detail, showing you, explaining what they do and what the default is that you can override. So we've got the input, so there's these are the supported video types, so MP4, MKV, MOV, M4V, and WebM. We got the seek, which again set to 0.5 as a default. So if you want to override that, you run -S and then 0:00:, whatever. We've got the thumbnail width, default 160. We've got the tile layout, 4:3. And we've got the padding and the margin between the images. We've got the color. So let's override some of these other values. So what we'll do is run tile thumbnails in goal of the season, and what we'll do is we'll set the margin color to be white. So we'll set -C white. And what we'll do is we'll leave some of these other values. We'll leave the black. We'll set it yellow one. We'll set the font color to yellow just for why not. So we'll set the font color to yellow. We'll set the width to 320. We'll do the tiling 6x6 again, and what I'll do is I'll actually show you how that affects the width of the image. And then finally what we'll do is we'll set X on to set the timestamps. And what this is going to do is this is going to override the default font color for the timestamps to yellow, and also the margin color between the thumbnails from black to white. So again, we just need to leave it a few seconds, and it's going to depend on two things: one, how long the video is, and two, how powerful your computer is and how much RAM it's got, on how long it's actually going to take to process this. But as you can see, it's not that long. And now if I switch back here, what you'll see is we have now changed the margin color, or the padding color as it were, from black to white, and we have yellow on black thumbnail timestamps here. If you look down here, what you'll see is you'll actually see the width and the height of the video. And again, this is each of these thumbnails is set to 320. So it's the width is the width of the thumbnails plus the margin and the padding times the number of tiles, which will actually give us the actual width of the image that we've created. Okay, so let's go through and do Big Buck Bunny again. So let's do tile thumbnails in Big Buck Bunny. Again, the order of the options doesn't matter. So we'll do X on width 320, We'll tile it. Let's do 8x8. 8x8. Anything else we need to do there? No. This is going to just use the most of the default options, and this will make a bigger image. This will be over 2,000 pixels. Should be okay. So you can see. Well, yes, it's 1728. No, that's because did I set the? Yeah, no, I did set the width. So the way that this works is, again, it's if you got a 10-minute video, you can see it's sort of creating stuff like every 10-15 seconds here. So it's just maths, basically. It's just, you know, if you had a 10-minute video and you had 4 tiles, then they would be every 2.5 minutes. You know, 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah, makes sense. I haven't. There isn't an option for an end time. As you can see here, we're actually bringing in the credits down here. So that's, you know, all the options and how it all affects. You know, how it's representing the scenes. But the more tiles you have, the shorter the space between the timestamps. That makes sense. Yeah. So if you have more time, if you have a bigger value for the tiles, you will get a shorter value between all of these, and it will give you a better representation of all the scenes in the actual video. You can see here, you know, you can see Big Buck Bunny waking up. You can see the butterfly. You can see down here, you know, these sections when he turns into Bunny Rambo and gets all Millie and creates a bow and arrow. So you know, you can see down here he finally captures the squirrel down here, and finally you'll see that he's actually turned the squirrel into a kite down at the bottom. So this is a really good way of actually creating an overview of a video with all the timestamps. So let me just do the same thing but without the timestamps, just to show you the difference. Now, another option for this might be for something like security camera footage. Suppose you've got a load of footage from your security camera or something like a Ring doorbell or what have you. You can take a video and create a contact strip with it, and it's going to show all the timestamps of stuff from someone stealing your milk or something like that. So I've got Big Buck Bunny down here. So this is the same video processed with the same options but without the timestamp. So I'm not forcing the timestamps upon you. You can use them if you want. If you don't want to use them, fine. But it's just an extra option that I added to the script that I thought actually might be useful. So you can see here, same thing, but you know, we're seeing the same thing, but we don't have an idea of, you know, where the action, at what point in the video the action is taking place. So that's why the timestamps can be useful. And what you'll typically see on some torrent sites, what they will do is when they upload a video, they will actually create a contact strip of the video, obviously a free and open source and not copyright video. They will actually create a contact strip. Sometimes it won't have timestamps, sometimes it will, but that's another use for this kind of thing. That, you know, if you're creating a page where people could, you know, download the video or something, you might want to actually have a contact strip showing an overview of everything with the timestamp, so that, you know, you can say to someone, oh yeah, you know, maybe it's for work or something. This could be very useful, because, you know, you can then say, okay, yeah, you know, just look at the you know, look at this particular scene at 5 minutes 20. That's when he gets the bow out. So it's actually you know, really useful to actually give an overview of the video to either a client you're doing video work for, or your own personal videos, you know, your family videos or something, or maybe you're you know, you're setting up a web page, you know, with your videos. And again, what this can be used with, it can also be used with the find command, so you can actually batch process stuff. So let's see if I can get the batch processing work. So I'm just going to delete all these, and what I'm going to do is just come across to my bookmarks and open the browser. Yeah, I've got the browser open. Okay, so what we have down here is ffmpeg-Skripte and ffmpeg-Skripte. And what's the difference? So ffmpeg-Skripte are in English, and ffmpeg-Skripte is in German. So if you're German, you can we've got exactly the same scripts, but all the script names and the output are in German. So now let's have a look down here. So what we've got, this is the list of the scripts. You can see here English version, Deutsche, and I have to say some of the names for the scripts in German sound awesome, like Ugerzug Clip, and which fliese-miniaturansichten. That's tile thumbnails in German. So you can see here, if I come back up to the actual script, actually, sorry, my bad, let me just come actually, where was it? Can't find it now. Yeah, fliese-miniaturansichten. So you can see this is the script in German, and you can see up here, first of all, we have the English file name, so I actually know what the script is, but then you can see here all the help is actually printed out in German, all the codes in English, but all the comments and everything are actually in German, and the output is in German as well. Okay, so what we got here is the tile thumbnail. So this is the script usage, the help, and I think I did this. Yep. So okay, so this is how we can batch process stuff. So what I'm going to do is come across here, paste this in. So what you can see is we've got find dot. So that's the current directory type. Name.mp4. I think all these are MKVs. Yep. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change this and batch process this all. So MKV. So we're saying find all the MKV files, execute shush with this command. So we're going to say file thumbnails in. We're going to leave the default option of 5 seconds. We'll set the width to 320. We'll set it by 6 by 6, tiles 6 by 6, and we'll just put this -x on. So this is basically like
we've been doing on the command line one by one, but we're going to batch process everything now. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to create all the contact strips, all the contact sheets with the original input file name and then dash the date and time. So let's see if we can get all this working. Okay, yeah, bugger. So of course, yeah, it's gonna tile thumbnails. Why is that not working? Maybe it's an issue with the it does work because I've used it before, but you know, it's the curse of the demo. So let's see if we can get this working. Okay, this should work. I'm not sure why it wasn't. Yeah, bugger. So why is that not working? So for some reason, the find command isn't picking up the file thumbnail. Would you know why that is? Typo, which I have to fix. You can see it said tile thumb without the N. So let's try it now. Okay, so after we'd fixed the typo, what you'll see is doesn't look like it's doing anything, it's just hanging. Okay, and typically with my scripts I don't actually set it to, you know, provide something saying, you know, doing stuff or processing video or what have you. You know, you could alter the scripts to do that if you so wish, but typically I don't bother. So what it's going to do now is it's going to process those 3 clips. You can see it's doing the first one, and it's going to do the second one, and then the third one. And each of these clips is about 10 minutes long. So this will give you a good idea of how long it actually takes to process stuff. You can hear my fans kicking in a bit. And when it's finished, what we'll have is 3 contact strips. Okay, so let me just switch back to the desktop. So what you'll see here is we've got the original video, and then we have the contact strip with the let me just quit that again. So we've got the original video, then the contact strip that has been created, which has got the input file name without the extension. So you can see this is bigbuckbunny.mkv, whereas the file that has been created is bigbuckbunny-tile and then the date and time.png. And again, the reason for this is so that if you run the script multiple times with different options, it's not going to overwrite the previous file because it has got a unique file name with the date and time. I could put the seconds in there, but you know, not really necessary. We've got Big Buck Bunny here again with these default some of the default options starting at 5 seconds, so we don't get the black frame. We got 6x6 black margin and padding, so that all looks good. You know, as you can see here, this is 1728 by 987, and this gives a good sort of nice big overview of the video, showing you all the action. You know, nice big thumbnails. You can see here, this is the squirrel just about to squish the butterfly, and then here, you know, we've got some nice action shots down here. So let's go across to Elephant's Dream, and again the same thing. We're starting at 5 because again all 3 of these videos actually start from black. They all fade up from black, and we don't want the first frame to be black. And as you can see, most importantly is that the timestamp corresponds to the seek time that you have set. So again, you don't want the, if you had the video starting at 5 seconds, you wouldn't want this to read 0 because that's not the position in the video. And that's where all that maths comes in from the script. It will automatically do the donkey work for you, so you don't have to tax your brain doing maths in the middle of the night. So again, we've got a nice overview of this video with all the timestamps. And again, the more tiles you have, the shorter the position of the between the clips will be. So if you have less tiles, the greater the time. You can see here these are sort of roughly 18, 20 seconds between each one of these, because it's a 10-minute 40 video. And then we've got goal of the season down here again. So we've got a nice overview of all the action and everything. And as you can see, we can batch process everything. So you've got a folder full of videos. You can basically batch process them all and create contact strips for everything and contact sheets for everything. And overriding the default options that you don't want, the width, the tile, the color. So what I've done is actually gone through all the ffmpeg options and provided an easy way to actually set them rather than getting dirty with the code, so that you can easily set the width, the tiling, the padding, the margins, the color, all the different options that you might want to set for this sort of thing. So I'll fix the typo on the page. But this is the tile thumbnail script. So if you've already installed the scripts, all you need to do is do a git pull to pull down the latest version. If you haven't installed the scripts, the instructions are here, and I'll give you a quick overview of some of the scripts. So we've got audio silence, which will remove the audio from a video and replace it with silence. We've got combine clips, and what this will do is it will combine either an image with an audio file or a video with a new audio track. We've got chapter add, and what this does is this will add chapters to a video, so you can actually add chapter markers to a video without re-encoding the video. And this works with the chapter CSV script as well. So what you can actually do is create a CSV script, a CSV file with timestamps for your chapters, and then run the chapter add script and inject the chapters into the video, so that you actually get chapters come up in the video. We've got clip extract, clip time, correct clips, EBU meter, which actually shows the volume levels of a video, extract frame, like extracting a frame from video at a particular point. I'll just roughly go through some of the important ones. We've got overlay clip and overlay pip. Overlay clip is basically overwriting part of a video with another clip. Picture in picture is creating a picture in picture in the video. What we also have is pan scan, which is like Ken Burns type stuff, panning and scanning over a video or an image rather. We've got scene detection here, and I've covered that in the previous video, and that's comprised of 3 scripts. But what I've done is actually created a make file, so that to perform scene detection, to put the make file in the same directory as the video, you run make input equals the video file name, boom, it'll go through the video, analyze it, and chop it up according to all these scene changes. We got sexagesimal time, and what that does is that actually calculates sexagesimal time, which is hours, minutes, seconds, so you can convert you can figure out stuff like that. And we've got subtitles add, so that's adding subtitles to a video. And this is not hard-coded subs, this is soft subs, so it's not hard-coding the subs over the video, it's actually creating a subtitle track that you can toggle on and off. We got scopes, so scopes are like a video scope you get in DaVinci Resolve. So if I run scopes -H, so let's do the vector scope. So if I do vector scope, let's do Big Buck Bunny actually. Okay, for some reason it's not working on. I know why, because I didn't give it the extension. Oh. Okay, here, so you can see a vector scope here. So this is actually showing a representation of the hues and the color in the video, and this is also particularly useful because it will allow you to see things like if you had footage of people, it would actually show you if the skin tones were correct. So you could actually see if, you know, you'd filmed in bright sunlight or something and someone was like really yellow or something, you'd actually be able to see it in that. So that's the scopes. We got stuff for showing we've got the tile thumbnails, which is showing you trim clip. What that does is that trims either audio or video to the millisecond on the command line. So rather than you cracking open a video editor, you can easily trim a clip. And most of these scripts all work with the find command, so that you can actually batch process stuff. We've got stuff for creating GIFs from video, so vid to GIF. We've got waveform for creating a waveform from a video. We've got WebP, which will actually create a WebP animation from a video. We've got X-Fade, which is using all the I come across here, X-Fade wiki. So if I come across here, see if it's got, I think it's got the thing here. So you can see all these effects down here: fade, fade to black, fade to white, distance. All these effects down here. This the X-Fade script will allow you to use all of these effects between two videos. So if you've got two clips and you want to wipe in or you know, circle open or what have you, you can apply those effects to two clips. It only works with two clips because otherwise the maths gets too difficult to try and work it all out. So that's an overview of all the scripts, and then we've got zoom pan, which is like a Ken Burns effect where you can you know, pan up and down, left and right on an image. So that's a list of all the scripts up here, and we got a whole playlist showing you how to use all these scripts. And again, these scripts are all available in German as well, so you can run all these scripts in German as well. So I could do the exact same thing. Let's just remove all those PNGs. So got PNG, so I could run git projects ffmpeg-Skripte translated German fliese-miniaturansichten -H, and if I print that out, you'll see this is exactly the same as the tile thumbnail scripts, except it's all in German. So again, this is the tile thumbnail scripts. The dependencies you need: ffmpeg, ffprobe, awk, and BC to do the calculation. We've got the usage, we've got all the options there, the error messages, the get options, which sets all the variables down here. some default options down here. Here's all the defaults. So you can override the defaults, or you can simply change the defaults here. So you can either override stuff on the command line, or you could change all the options here if you so wish. And again, this is how it does all the calculations. So this is, for instance, you got two things. When you're specifying the seek time, you're using hours, minutes, and seconds. But when you're using the PTS, setting the PTS for the timestamp position, it's got to be in seconds. So this is how we actually convert sexagesimal time, which is hours, minutes, and seconds, into seconds. So what you'll see here is actually saying, okay, if this is start, what it's doing is actually splitting the hours and minutes and seconds. So you have like 00 colon 30 colon 00 would be 30 minutes. What this does is this splits it up, and it does all the maths basically to convert sexagesimal time into seconds. We then got the output file, the output default, the frame, and then we've got the two functions, the contact sheet with no timestamps, and then we've got the contact sheet with the timestamps here, which actually uses draw text to create the box and the text basically. And you can see here the important thing here is this section here, PTS, HMS, which is the hours, minutes, seconds, and then this is how we specify the offset. So again, we specify the offset. PTS is a variable that's set to 5. So PTS is the first option is the one that you're overriding, and this is the fallback. Okay, so that's why you have this syntax where you've got the $, the braces, the variable colon equals, and then you set the fallback. And then finally down here at the bottom, we check the options passed to the script. So we check if the timestamp is equal to on with X on. We check if the font color is set, the box color is set, and if they're not, we just fall back to using the script without setting any timestamps on the video. So if you just want to use the default options for the timestamps, just use -X on. If you want to set the color for the font or the box, you don't need to use the -X on option as well, because obviously if you're specifying the font color for the timestamps, then obviously you want to use them, so you don't need to specify that you want to use them, because you've already said that you want to set the color for it. So X on will just use a default value, or you can use -F or -B to set the those options. And this is the color page on the for ffmpeg. So if I switch across here, so this is the color syntax that you can actually use. So you can see here we've got the name, but also the actual hex. So these are all the different colors that are actually supported by stuff. So like we could set Peru. So let's see if we can do Peru. So tiles, thumbnails in, let's do Elephant's Dream, width 320, tile 6x6, and we want the font color be Peru. See if that works, and we'll do -X on, see if this works, and then we can see what Peru color looks like. I'll just give this a second. So Okay, and switch to the desktop, and now we can see what Peru looks like. Okay, that's actually quite nice. Actually, I quite like that color. It's like a not too bright orange. So that's the important thing is that you want something that's going to contrast with the box background. So as I showed you previously in the video, a yellow on white background didn't work because there was no contrast, so you couldn't actually see the lettering. So this is quite a nice example. It's you know, you might not want to have just pure white. You might want to have something a bit more subtle. So again, just come through all of these. We can have slate grey, sky blue, sandy brown. What about steel blue? Let's have a look at steel blue. Let's do steel blue. And just give it a few seconds. So again, these are all about 10-minute long, and the way the script works is it's actually got to go through the scripts. It's got to go through the video to calculate the duration and then get the FPS and the duration, all this kind of stuff. So this is steel blue. Oh, that's quite nice as well, actually. So you've got some really nice colors that you can actually play around with. So, you know, you could we could set the margin to be steel blue as well. So let's have a look at the options again. So tile thumbnails. So we want to set the color. The color is the color of the margin. So let's redo that one, and we'll set the color to be steel blue as well. Steel blue. Steel blue, yeah, all spelled correctly. So this is going to set the color of the margins to be steel blue as well as the timestamps. You might want them coordinated, or maybe not. You got the option. So that's the advantage of this, is that rather than having to you know, write a load of code, you can just do that. So here's the steel blue. That's quite nice. You could, of course, you know, select a sort of two-tone color scheme, so you could have a steel blue and a darker blue, or what have you. You just need to go through and have a look at all the options on the ffmpeg page for the colors. So that's how we can create a contact strip with timestamps from a video using ffmpeg. We've got all these nice different options. I really like that steel blue, actually. I'm quite feeling that. So yeah, you can have a default white on black, or you can just go through and experiment, you know, individual, and make it a bit more individual, because you know, you might find just, you know, black and white a bit dull, and you want to spruce things up a bit. So you got that option as well. So you got options to set all this stuff. So all these options correspond to things that you would set in ffmpeg. It's just I'm making it easier, rather than having to write out a big bunch of code and, you know, write out the draw text code and do all the maths for this, because that's the real issue, is actually the maths to get this working and get it working bang on to the millisecond. And that's why we use the BC command, so that we can do floating point sort of calculations to the millisecond, which you can't actually do built in the shell. So that's why we need the BC command to do all the maths. So that's the gist of it. And again, this will work on Mac, Windows, either using the Windows subsystem for Linux or using cygwin. It will also work on Linux and Unix as well. So I'll put links to all this under the video, and this is the ffmpeg color syntax. Okay, I was looking at something alacrity there. Yeah, that's what I was looking at earlier, how to increase the file size. But yeah, basically all you need to do is, if you actually got the scripts installed already, just do a git pull and it will update the scripts and you'll have the new version available. If not, and you want to get started, just go for the scripts install here. Very simple. Basically, the way I do it is you create a bin directory, and I've got instructions here for whether you're using bash. If you were using bash, you would put this in your bash RC. If you're using ZSH, you would add this to your ZSH env file. And what this does is this sets the path. So you can see here it's setting the path equal to home bin, and adding it to your path. And this -u option here make sure that your path is unique and doesn't have any duplicate entries in it, basically. So what you do is you create the bin directory, add this to your bash RC if you're on bash, add this to your ZSH env if you're on ZSH, source your shell config file to pick up the changes, clone the repository, and what you can do is you can actually create a symbolic link. You could either, there's several ways you could do this. You could symlink each script that you want to use into your bin directory, but what I typically do is, if I have a look here, what you'll see is my bin directory is actually a symbolic link to this file, this directory here, which is my bin directory under git. So there are several ways you can actually do this. You could, you've got various options, but this is basically how you do it. And this is how you install ffmpeg, or install ffmpeg on Mac using Homebrew. All the options that you need, and again, all the scripts tell you at the top what dependencies they require. So when you install ffmpeg, typically it should install ffprobe. Awk should be installed by default on most Unix and Linux systems, but you may have to install the bc command manually. It really depends on the distribution you're on. Some install it by default and others don't. So that's all for now, and I just wanted to give you a full overview of all the options, how the script works, how you can override all the options, and also how you can batch process a load of videos to create contact strips from them. So I'll fix the typo on this page. So we had the typo here under, you can see here, this section here, I forgot the N. So I'll fix that, and I'll put links to everything under the video, and that's all for now.